Hello and welcome. My name is Carrie Knuth, and I am the Interim Director of Student Life Leadership and Development for the Ivy Tech Fort Wayne and Warsaw campus. Ivy Tech Student Life's mission is to provide a student-centered environment that fosters intentional individual development through activities, programs, and events connecting the students to the college and the community. These programs and activities, in addition to offering opportunities for social interaction and engagement, also serve to develop students in specific student life core function areas, one of which is to promote wellness and healthy behaviors that encourage self-care and reduce risk. Today, we are joined by Lori Rose, two-time TEDx speaker and founder of the Rose Model. Using spoken word, truth-telling, movement, and education, she guides teens and adults through open conversation about mental health, healing, and sexuality to create a new landscape of healthy connection. During her 11-year tenure as executive director of a nonprofit organization here in Fort Wayne, Indiana, Lori led multi-million-dollar community projects, co-founded the grassroots dance group Salsa Loca, and initiated 1 Billion Rising Fort Wayne, part of a global movement to end interpersonal violence and abuse. Today, in partnership with Lori, Student Life kicks off the Ivy Tech Rose Model Campus Impact Wellness Program. This is a scaffolded, ongoing, holistic, year-long program guiding students to prevent toxic dynamics, build mental and relational and sexual health, and gain skills in emotional IQ, regulation, consent, trauma resilience, communication, leadership, values-based decision-making, and equity building. This year-long program will use movement, skills, new skills, and shape-shifting education to build a healthier, stronger self. Before we turn it over to Lori, please note this presentation may not be suitable for all audiences, as it will discuss topics and triggers relating to sexual assault, trauma, suicide, and self-inflicted harm. Though we will be discussing and encouraging tools for resilience, healing, confidence, support, self-care and discretion is always advised and supported. We also recognize sometimes you may need more than you can do on your own. And for that, know that you are not alone and that there are many, many resources available that can assist you. Please see the listing I'm about to put in the chat box or in the description on the YouTube video for available local and national resources for support. Now, I'd like you to join me in welcoming Lori Rose.
Welcome, everyone. I am going to step right in. This is called Presence. My heart has no catchy opening line. No shtick, my dad would say. No performance. If I were to let it speak by itself, open fully, it would begin with a wail. Long, flat notes would call out, punctuated only by breathy sobs. I'm not going to do that, I promise. But I have no opening line, no shining cover, as I believe our wounds have deepened too much. I believe they need more attention. I don't know you yet, fellow human, your heart, soul, your story, but I want to know. What lights you up, pings at you, even tears at you, as I've learned the struggle holds more gems than we give it credit for. I do know that I'm here, committed, with you, and scared. Having no opening line, breaking rules, reminds me of a time in high school philosophy class. I rebelled against pain by answering the essay question with an explanation of why I thought it was pointless. The teacher didn't see it that way, gave me a failing test grade, I'm pretty sure. Another stamp of disapproval I've carried in my skin. But I have no opening line because I see so much. I feel so much. The earth is hurting. I don't think our band-aids, our just get back to normals, judgments, performative gestures, or daggers hurled at each other or at her are helping. I believe the wounds need to breathe. If we could hold a little space for breath, for hearts to settle, connect with our guts, let them know that even though memory may cling most tightly to fear, there is so much more in our winding tendrils, pulsating longings, incessant heartbeats. Even though agony, ripples of chaos exist, there still is so much more here. I want to draw up my courage, open arms, allow spirit to rise and step into a bigger space. With full human presence, I will tell you, fear imprinted in me pretty early, though not as early as it tragically imprints in too many others. I will tell you, even as I stand, that I've been enduring a shattering. Maybe we all have. I will tell you that shards of it still pierce me at times. I will tell you in hopes that we can share real human space, that on this earth plane, in the pandemic's earliest days, the virus invaded my dad and took him away. And I'll never forget the drop in my body hearing my mom's voice. I think we're gonna lose him, honey. I share this not to draw forth sympathy or bring heaviness. I promise. You don't need to carry any more than you already are. You don't need to carry any more than you already are. I want for the opposite, a space to drop your shoulders, let limbs release, feel earth underneath supporting you, hear your heart's ping or drumbeat or pounding even. I believe it is only asking for your presence. What can we co-create here with our presence? I don't know yet, but I want to know. And the first step is always a small decision. I'm here and I'm in. I believe with every fiber and cell of my being that love is bigger, gentleness is needed. A warm smile of greeting grows within, knowing you too are here. I'd love to take a step with you toward hope and the glimmer of open possibility. Thank you for your presence. The only way I can think of to explain these spoken word pieces is that they've been falling out of me during the pandemic. While I write them, I have no idea that they're spoken word. And I definitely never thought or expected that I would share them with anyone. Something I've been learning while healing for more than a decade is to listen. The pieces I'm sharing with you have asked to be heard. And I'm taking a leap of faith to trust them and trust the place they came from. This is kind of terrifying for me for a few reasons. First, society taught me not to show up messy. Whether in school, socially, or professionally, I learned to hide or no big deal my toughest thoughts and happenings, unless, of course, I had them wrapped in an Instagram-worthy bow and had it all figured out. I saw who I was literally as a walking mess, and I'm not exempt from getting snagged back into that belief. So I learned to cope by either not showing up at all or carefully putting on a veil or cover if I did. Always tense, making sure I tucked my brokenness neatly inside and didn't rock the boat. This was exhausting, and what I found on the windy path of realness, trying to shed the cloaks that clung to me, and now hearing the stories of many other humans, is that life is inherently messy. Here in college, you're trekking through a time of intense growth, change, and transition. And my experience, as well as brain research and looking out the window, tells me you're likely in the crux of a very messy time. So I want to welcome that and give space for it, because I believe in the truth of who you are and the beauty of what's real. So I'm going to choose to chalk that up to BS, that we're supposed to cover and hide the mess, not let them see you sweat, as I want to connect with you as the full human beings we are. My second fear stems from the grave responsibility of asking you to take this journey with me today and throughout this school year. I'm an educator and coach. I specialize in well-being, sexuality, and relationships. This covers a broad range of topics and feelings, from celebrating our innermost magic and feelings of connection with the divine to shame, grief, trauma, and feelings worse than death. There are no possible words for how much this all matters to me and for how much you matter to me. I believe you have something in you that the world needs. I know that if our sense of connection to ourselves gets fractured, whether through trauma, unhealthy relationships, or systems, this can rob us of accessing what's inside. It's taken me decades to reclaim my voice and what's alive in me, and I'm still on the journey. I always will be. I don't want to wait, and I don't think we can afford to wait decades for what you have to share to come forward. I can't say enough how grateful I am to share learning and exploration with you. You have full permission to take what's helpful and leave what isn't, and I believe in you wholeheartedly. And I want to pause in my list of fears here and just say, Carrie, I'm not reading the chat as I'm delivering, so if there is something to bring to my attention, please, please, please do. It is new for me to step into the space of my art. If I were embracing only that artist hat, maybe I could maintain a collective sense of safety by reminding you that I wrote these pieces for myself and saying something like I've heard other artists say, like, I hope you like it, and if you don't, maybe you can keep that to yourself, or I'll see you later, and that's cool. But that doesn't meet my sense of responsibility. I'm asking you to take a journey with me this year, because I believe that we can create a new paradigm of healthy connection that's desperately needed in the world. So essentially, it's like we've just met, and here I'm asking for your consent as an educator, and meanwhile, I'm kind of bearing my guts as an artist, which is a daunting combination. If I draw parallels and I consider the underpinnings of consent, responsibility, mutuality, and joy, and how they might apply in this moment, here's my best attempt to communicate that to you. In our space here, just like our relationships, we're responsible for our own feelings and actions, not other people's. I ask that we take ownership of what we bring here, what we put in this container that we create together. For my part, I want for your sense of safety, dignity, and belonging. And wherever you are on your path, I want those senses to be restored or to grow during our time. This means whatever you need to do to feel safe with any gut bearing today is more than understandable. I want to remind you that self-care is linked with community care, that we're delving into some intense, but I believe necessary topics with great care and respect, that I am never the only survivor in a space, and that some of our brothers, sisters, and friends weren't able to stay on the earth plane, and we love and honor them. I'm going to beat the drum on a couple things that I wish someone would have said more to me. That asking for help is a sign of strength, and that while on a college campus, you have some of the greatest access you ever will to resources. And if I could go back in time, I would use those resources a lot more. I'll also let you know as a caveat that I may use humor and sometimes cussing to care for myself and express the concepts I'm trying to get across. My last fear in sharing so openly with you is the most triggery one for me, which tells me there's some important information here. I'm afraid that what I say won't land, and that people who miss out on the information and learning could end up like I did, and too many others have, with major mental health impacts, or in abusive dynamics, or in even more dire circumstances, and that will keep the cycle of violence and pain ever spiraling in destruction, and it will be all my fault for having done a shitty job. Now, I can laugh at that and know and remember that I am definitely not God, But I can also tell you this is one of many very normal beliefs for a trauma survivor to have, that I am responsible for everything and that I am or must be doing it wrong. I've chosen this level of vulnerability with you because in order to repair something, we first have to shine a spotlight and take a look at it. People modeled this in my life when it came to like a microwave or a pair of glasses or maybe something like a friend stealing my stickers from day camp. But I didn't learn these skills when it came to really tough emotions and experiences. And the vast majority of teens and adults I work with didn't either. Now, I don't blame anyone for wanting to distance themselves from things that feel really crappy or difficult. That's a very natural and biological response. And I've done it, and I do it too. I'm an auntie, and I feel that instinctive backing away as my dear nephew at age 13 or my dear niece prepares for college, and I'm like, oh God, hi, how are you? I'm here, okay, love you. Even though I have a vast toolkit and I teach trekking through tough topics 24/7, it's hard for me to bring it up with them, my little soul people, as I almost refuse to imagine that the world would ever meet them with pain that isn't immediately fixable. But what happens when we refuse to see pain that isn't immediately fixable? Quick sip of water. It turns out what's most problematic isn't the trek. It's when we get stuck or trapped or treat the pain like a hot potato and hurl it at someone else. There's a saying, you can't read the bottle when you're in the label. You can't read the label when you're in the bottle. The not so good news is that silence, denial, secrecy, shame, judgment, or some combination thereof can lock us in that bottle. The better news is there's a way out. In my poetry, at times, you may hear a voice kind of reading the bottle's ingredients, like a friend walking with me through a tunnel. And during this year of the Rose Model Campus Impact, we'll explore many creative modalities so you can develop your own guides that are true to your mind, spirit, heart, and body. But when stuck in the bottle or in pain, we can spiral into a sense of paralysis or beliefs like, I don't belong, I am wrong or bad, or I can't trust anyone. The way out, easier said than done, but definitely doable as I'm attempting to show you, is to connect, first with self and optimally with trusted others, and walk through the emotions and triggers so that we can move freely again. Brene Brown, the author and researcher, describes it as a muck pit. She says some people so afraid, disgusted, or simply without the tools to go in will spend their whole lives standing on the edge, sinking inch by inch, without realizing it until they're up to their eyeballs in quicksand. On the other hand, if we can go through, and we don't have to do this alone, it doesn't mean that we go and build a house and we live there in the muck forever. It means that we decide to say, okay, we're going to put on our waders and galoshes and we're going to go in and slog and slosh through it, because on the other side, the greater aliveness and reclaiming all the parts of ourselves is worth it. The journey I'm peeling back the curtain to share with you is one of reintegration. As we honor Campus Safety and Suicide Prevention Month, this is one human's path to repair the shattering. And not only that, but a spark, I hope, for your own inner pilot light to get you out there and doing your thing. Before this next piece, I nervously want to recap all of the content warnings so that as we move through, the art can stand by itself. So remembering that these pieces will touch depression, suicidal ideation, sexual violence, some language, later physical violence, racial injustice, A friend always tells me on Saturday nights that I'm doing light reading. If it feels true to you, take advantage of being on video. You can turn off your camera, even move your body while you're listening. You can try something like shaking to move energy away from you if needed. Above all else, remember to keep breathing. Depression returns. Why is this so shocking? Why am I so all-encompassingly flooded by shame, choking, suffocating, eclipsing in this realization? Shame gets treated like a neat clinical term. Notice your sensations, they say. Douse it with a little empathy. Very convenient to compare unbearable paralysis, covering raging chaos, squeezing, wrenching, swooping you into tornadoes of inner destruction, to a passing poof of clouds, or something that fits in a petri dish, when you're not the one engulfed in its flaming, smoting grips. I wonder if some of us drifted to a whirlpool type of landscape, where the weather doesn't matter, nature's very laws succumb to the suction force. The spiral flows only one way and won't cease until it takes you out. The ones who realize this and surrender sooner, could they be the smart ones? Are we meant to be here fighting against the drag, pull, currents, the drain, every single day? How might I ever align, express, connect, share, oh, the things that make me dance, when I am only flailing, resisting, furiously paddling away from the suction, yet it appears to the world that I'm not even moving? I know this. I have eyes and ears, you know. A boss even said it once. Sometimes it's like you're moving so fast you're not even going anywhere. Yeah, well, you found me out. And the lifelong question resurfaces. Well, not lifelong, just since the suction pool began, some arbitrary time after hands invaded, lights shut out, thick impenetrable walls slammed down, I vacated my body. But the question, how can I move, contribute, embrace, when I am paddling furiously away in another direction, disappointing, flailing imperceptibly? Why keep fighting so hard? Why stay? Will I ever get to know another space as intimately as I know this whirlpool? Will I ever walk, dance, speak truly freely again when so much has taught me to cover and stop pissing people off as I lack the energy to fight them? Who created this whirlpool anyway? How did it get here? How did its tugging, deafening, tearing, dragging water become so strong? How did I get here if I'm not meant to swirl into the seemingly inevitable drain? How does a doomed creature ever escape? Miraculously unwaterlogged wings, maybe? Great. Who has a pair of those to spare that work for a merely human body? And how would you know I need them when I open my mouth and no words come out? How can I show you when all I see are struggles portrayed as weak, unevolved, still somehow not having done enough work yet? Laugh my fucking ass off, huh? They don't give diplomas for incessantly fighting the whirlpool day by day, moment by desperate moment, years and decades. Where did they go? Yet, does anyone have more muscle fibers working or more fortitude than those of us in the churning whirlpool, where one wrong move could be your demise, and who somehow still have survived? In this exiled space, maybe my damaged voice could carry my fellow survivors flailing nearby. If you can hear me, your muscles, hands, your movement, whatever weird ass and garbled way you may see yourself, you are here. You have fought tooth and nail and still are here, however fatigued and battle torn. There is magic and power pulsating in you. I don't care what it looks or sounds like because I know it. Of course, it doesn't sound like the tones of those who will never get it. I, for one, am in awe of your movement. I'd like to see your erratic heart, hear your half-formed words. They're the sounds of the very lifeblood, the whisper, keeping us here, still fighting. What if we are an army of whirlpool resistors, drained defiers, with something so scrappy to let out that it just might save us, and we may breathe again as we did before it was stolen? To you, I reach my fingertip, nod my sight, and summon energy to sew a stitch in a pair of wings. Maybe with a few more stitches, we'll have a goddamn airlift. What I know is that in this moment, I'm not letting the thieves of our voices win. I turn to you. Can we take a next breath? Dance even as we flail. Defy in amplified might. Can we sing out, I am still here? Because we, defiant warriors, are the keepers of our souls, the parts they could not take. We are a human chain of the life force. Our energies carry power to thrust us far beyond the water's toe. For you and with you, I let shame seep through open wounds, lift words beyond exile off the page. For you and with you, I share a triumphant breath, another day. I'm going to take a breath. Thank you. And a sip of water. If there's one idea I could leave you with about mental health, it's that the journey is non-linear, and that's okay. In real life, spirals go in many directions, and every time you go through a muck pit, you integrate a little bit more. Like bird wings, it's normal to have contraction and expansion. The key is to obtain skills and support if needed, to aid in your movement and in your rest, so your wings don't get stuck. I can't even tell you how often I hear myths about mental health as a straight line, almost Disney-sounding beliefs. A lot of times it's from parents and caregivers who genuinely want to see their kids well. And they start to minimize and tuck away the mess and say things like, yep, I think we're past that now. Meanwhile, I'm picturing on the other end, it's like you've chucked like chocolate milk bottles sideways under the bed as quickly as you could so that they would stop worrying about you or stop restricting you, and the liquid is seeping out underfoot while you give a little side eye and try to rub it into the carpet with your toe. Sure, we are past it. But I've also heard that same sentiment in mental health promoting spaces like anti-violence and anti-oppression, where I recently heard someone introduce a speaker by saying, I read how you used to struggle with depression and even suicidal ideation. That's so awesome that you're past all of that now. And while I can say that there certainly is another side, there are other sides, and I've seen it get way better. I believe from experience and from clients and people I speak with that those kinds of messages set us up for failure and are dangerous. The TED speaker and author Sherwin Newland talked about how the other side of depression is not constant happiness, it's aliveness. I look to nature for life lessons, and I think of an example of a purely linear process, and I can't come up with one. Even as a human body grows over time, everything moves in cycles. Hormones, the way the brain does pruning, skin cells slough off and regenerate. We're on a journey of integration. And in fact, the symbolism of the rose model is a plant unfolding, cycling each time you go through, releasing what's not serving you and mining gems from muck pits, just as fall leaves become detritus and feed and nourish the roots of the soil, the roots in the soil, so they can grow stronger. And I could talk in nature metaphors all day, but I have hesitation that our event is real talk about sex and well-being. And some of you might be going, damn, I thought I was coming here to talk about sex. And we are. And we will be throughout the events this year. Carrie, were you going to add something? Sex is rooted in connection with the core, depth, breadth of who you are, and that of other human beings if you choose. It's linked to the very life force. And this is a mere snapshot of how sexuality can be magical. But on the flip side, if we are harmed sexually, it hurts or dims our very life force and the deepest parts of who we are. These topics are often siloed, and I can understand why. As mental health, sexuality, they're laced with complexity, taboo, stigma, shame, barriers, liability concerns out the wazoo, and really no cultural blueprint for even being able to talk about sex. But until we can understand and weave together the intrinsic connections between whole self, sexuality, mental health, relationships, and community, I don't think we can fully heal. And we're hindered in the extent that we can deepen connection and feel truly seen, heard, and free. And this relates to life, friendships, and good sex. A key component of healthy and close connection, whether it's sexual or not, is intimacy. If we look at its roots, it comes from two Latin words, intimus, meaning innermost, and intimare, which means to make known or familiar. So intimacy is to make the innermost known, or as I once heard a therapist say, into me you see. If we're trying to show up in a relationship or human connection that we care about and we want to be close, and we've got some hidden big old thing that we don't even acknowledge with ourselves, our energy gets scattered and we don't get to be our full selves, and the connection suffers for it. I'm not saying the answer is to show up and spill our guts everywhere. It's not. People need to earn the right to hear your story. And toxic relationships can happen if we lean in and bear too much too soon before we know we have a safe container and trust. This takes time, skills, and practice. And I truly didn't and don't mean this to be like a sales pitch, but the best way I know to create a roadmap is to walk through the Rose model. It helps us learn your own building blocks for healthy relationships and sexuality, how you personally build trust and make decisions, how you determine when you are safe, respected, and can be honest and feel free, and to discover the core of who you are, because this deserves to be celebrated. Because your most important relationship is the one you have with that beautiful being looking back in the mirror at you every day, I want to do a quick self-check. Can you take a breath? Do a quick body scan. Even take 30 seconds if you need to. I am going to grab a sip of water. And could you give me a sign like a thumbs up or a little ping or something like that when you are ready to delve in to this next part of our journey? Because I'm going to ask you to bring a little bit more bravery as we travel in a little bit deeper and a little bit more bigly into our sense of hope. I'm going to take a big deep breath myself. Okay. Thank you. I can feel the energy, and whether unspoken or spoken, it's here. It makes a difference. For this next piece, I'm going to ask you to do something brave and not easy and turn toward someone's pain. This piece was written by several voices who hid and isolated themselves for a long time. And I ask that you hold them with tenderness while you listen. I didn't call it that. You assaulted me, but I didn't call it that. My breathing stopped as though a vacuum sucked the air out, or maybe the life out, of my lungs, limbs, torso. As if the more life that left, the less I knew where your hands were going, the less I felt the terror of parts shattering. I was 11, 10, trying to sleep. I had no words for assault, no understanding. There was nothing to tell anyone anyway, since not that much had happened, right? Is this how it is when I don't share someone's feelings? Vacant hollowness consumed me. Eyes shut tight, impermeable shields slammed down over me so completely that I didn't even think of it for decades. You assaulted me, but I didn't call it that. You were in charge as my coach. My well-being depended on your care for me, like a well-trained puppy, I guess. You walked up and started unbuttoning my blouse out of clear blue nowhere. Why was I wearing that damn button-down blouse anyway? I don't think I ever wore it again. Why was I the last damn one in that room? I stopped you, but not before you made your mark, invaded my skin, imprinted another disgusting, hidden but oozing gash. And more life took its cue to escape. You assaulted me, but I didn't call it that. I was trying to sleep. Oh, my body knows how to get through this one. The vacant thing. I don't know how I felt after that. I wandered in numbness for years. You assaulted me, but I didn't call it that. You said, the beauty of it is no one needs to know a thing about this. Right, because I was mischievous, dirty. Is that what this is? The other day, in fact, a man told me his girlfriend had experienced no assaults because she had led a clean, simple life. How did I get sent down the wrong conveyor belt? How did I take so many damn wrong turns? You assaulted me, but I didn't call it that. When we worked together at camp, and you, and you, and you, it's all a thick, giant, lung-clogging haze, a lead cloak that keeps me from feeling like I can even move sometimes. Lots of times. You assaulted me, but I didn't call it that. And I'd grown smarter, like a ninja, wrestling out of your grip. But it wasn't long before, in the least funny cat and mouse game ever, the vacuum sucked away my ninja strength, and I was a dead mouse in an unwinnable battle. But with one last resort. We all know one way you might calm down. It's taught in school on the wrong conveyor belt. You shoved me down, a horrifying, nauseating, helpless and lower than dirt feeling. That was close, though. Phew. You assaulted me, but I didn't call it that, and I was sleeping again. I thought it was my fault for 6 months because there was drinking. I'd been dancing with people. Someone I love echoed that same thing. Weren't you drinking and dancing with him? I, a well-educated professional this time. Another stupid night of being a girl. I raised a brow, though, when you sent a new version of that same line. I'm a vault. No one ever needs to know. Wait a second. I knew by this time that I'd survived dating and domestic violence. That was a doozy. But this rape stuff, not me. That happened to other people in bad situations, and I didn't need to talk about it. There was just that one almost time, and thank God that dead mouse girl still had a bit of brain power. One night I Googled, though, sexual assault, any unwanted sexual advance or contact. Say what? How could I have not? Wait, does this mean that that and that and that and that? Oh my God, it all was. So I stuck on another survivor badge, talked about it a bit, but mine really were not that bad. I had done so much healing already. I was going to do the right thing and get on the over it train. Isn't that what nice girls do? The ones who don't get on people's nerves? And then you assaulted me, but I didn't call it that. It wasn't sexual this time, just physical, at work. Assault doesn't happen in public, broad daylight, right? Not to people like me. Had to be some kind of misunderstanding. Unless I was being found out. Found on the wrong conveyor belt, full of all that mischief and wrongdoing. Maybe this and the twisted violations that followed were the punishment I deserved for all those wrong, disgusting, and hidden parts. So I doubled down on hiding. It was like all the imprints combined. The vacuum suck of my breath leaving, the guilty, helpless girl with the wrong blouse, the dead mouse, the found criminal, the one who shouldn't have opened her mouth. You were on his nerves, you know. That's why your spine will never be the same. I can't help but wonder if you ever think of me. If any of those sick, venomous, paralyzing moments stayed with you, because they're seared into my very being. Every day I fight to breathe. Every day I fight to move. Every day I grasp to retrieve words. They say I just need more confidence, as though maybe a wider smile, cool outfit, more bling would have the wattage to revive decades of decaying parts. Or let it go, they say, as though the poison you injected in my cells could be neatly packaged and dropped at the Goodwill. You assaulted me, but I didn't call it that. I wonder how many other voices haven't found words or bodies haven't revived or would never out themselves. No court of law could make things whole again or bring murdered parts back to life. You assaulted me, but my story was never yours to finish. My cells never yours to shape. I am here to say to the warrior child who fought, escaped, whatever it took to survive, that I breathe with oak tree lungs, raise limbs like her branches, draw my voice with rumblings of the ocean. My cells, 70% water, indeed, shift with every vibration I extend. Let reclaimed words reverberate to every body who can feel them, to every inner child whose spirit could never break. Our breathing, our being is the revolution. Every ripple of our voices, our bodies, our own power matters. I want to tell you something straight up. When I was in college, if you would have asked me to attend a sexual assault prevention event, I would not have gone. I would not have thought it applied to me. I feel compelled to share these stories with you, and I'm really glad that we have the school year in front of us to walk together, because I see so much invaluable dialogue that I want to honor. These are stories that you'll never hear on the news. And based on what a lot of people share with me, you might not hear them from your partners or family members either. The potential loss that we face in well-being and human connection overwhelms me and also strengthens my resolve to keep going. I think that pulling back the curtain on everyday assault can lead to a revolution of everyday heroes for repair and restoration and healthy sexuality that honors the human spirit instead of destroying it. I think there are a lot more of us than anyone realizes. When people hear my stories about sexual violence, I tend to notice about 4 kinds of responses. One is Me Too from people of every gender and background. I think the statistics are low since so many people never identify sexual violence, but under the age of 18, so by the time we reach the doorstep of college, at least 1 in 3 girls, 1 in 5 boys, and 1 in 2 gender expansive folks have experienced sexual violence. And every piece of information that I give you or offer is not so you'll feel badly about it, it's so we become empowered to do something. Chances are, if it's not you, it's someone you care about or someone that you want to partner with has experienced it. So it's important to understand how not to cause unintentional violations, which we'll talk about in our next session, and hold the space if you want to have authentic and deep connections with the many folks who happen to be survivors. The second response I get is much more rare, but it does happen, and that's outward judgment or blame. Sometimes it's more blatant, like, well, you dance salsa and that's provocative and this is what happens. Or this is how it's going to be for women until Jesus comes. And these are literal comments people have shared. Other times the person doesn't realize the type of judgment they've made. For example, well, you know what the problem is? It's these dads. They're uninvolved, and so their daughters don't know how to have a good relationship. And that, I will say, is bullshit. And I had a great dad, an example of a very long and loving partnership in my parents. And it is very detrimental and dangerous to make sweeping generalizations, of course, or generalize about certain identities or whole groups of people. The third response I get is frighteningly common. As a recent example, a dear friend I hadn't seen in a long time was asking thoughtful questions about my work, and my story came out as I answered them honestly. She had deep sadness and care and used the word haunted to describe how she felt, as she also knew the person who was my first perpetrator. And then in thinking out loud, she said this: "I'm so sorry that happened to you. I know I'm so lucky. I really don't think it ever happened to me. And the only reason I can think of for it, I guess it's because I was always such a prude." And this response I call accidental harm. Even as a very caring, intelligent person, in not realizing that she allowed that instinct to run away from pain to take the lead, instead of choosing the practice of turning toward, she made a grave and harmful mistake. She didn't take the perspective of a 10-year-old kid in a sleeping bag minding her own business, literally sleeping, while a neighbor kid orchestrated a plan not to go home so he could violate her while no one would see. My friend also didn't know that the other person sitting at the table with us had been sexually abused by an older sibling starting at the age of 6 or 7. I don't think I need to state the obvious, but we weren't promiscuous children. And this was a deep injury that my friend did not intend to cause. That phrase, own your impact as well as your intention, is a really valuable one. If we don't develop the capacity to turn toward the pain that we and others experience and have these hard conversations, the potential we are missing for healing and discovery and creating new humanity-centered ways of being and doing is unquantifiable. but it also means we have so much open possibility for change. A dear friend recently reminded me of her favorite definition of empathy. She'd participated in this magic circle of friends that I ran some spoken word pieces by to pull myself out of paralysis of fear. And she said, empathy is when someone falls in a hole, it's the ability to go and sit in the hole with them and just be. And of course, this is easier said than done. It takes getting uncomfortable. It takes practice, and every human interaction has nuance. If someone is really deep into the muck or whirlpool, it's probably not safe for you to dive in after them. That's where we have to put on our own oxygen mask first before we can be of any good to anyone else, and we can call for reinforcement. And if it's not as dire of a situation, but we can't get in, maybe we have a pool noodle or a pair of floaties that we can contribute and still turn toward and lean in. I want to check in with you one more time again because I believe in you so fiercely. We have a little less than 10 minutes left, and I have one more piece that I would love to share with you. If we are able to stay present for it, knowing that we can't fix everything here today. And I am hoping that we can come back. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is come back the second time and take another step back in. But that will be my invitation. So can you give me one more time? I see a few thumbs up. Are you okay to hear one more piece? And then we will close for today, knowing that we can reopen our container again. Okay. I think I see enough. Okay. I'm assuming someone will shout at me or do whatever you need to do for you if you're not okay. Taking a walk. It took me so long to allow it even. I learned somewhere, where did I learn? That life, moving, being out there was like a contest. You'd better work if you're gonna move, fool. Be sweating, dripping, showing them. You'd better run if you're gonna be out there. Because who do you think you are? Who do you people think you are? My teacher literally said that. 4th grade, I was stunned. Who do I think I am anyway? Not one of those proud, cocky, better than thou kids. Humble, I am. Quiet. See, my idea was the right one all along. Maybe I can win at that, at silence inside, however much it screams to me. I can be silent longer than anyone. Time tested while hands grope at me. I freeze inside, parts went dead. My dead parts are strong, you see. Taking a walk, though, reintroduces me to life. Oh, hey there, trees, petals, blooms, yard waste. Why so much goddamn yard waste? What is so wrong with your yard? Or do you excavate your dead parts? Huh. I let mine hang out or cling to me somehow. But do you see me? If I move faster, harder, do I defy the odds, prove I am greater than the sum of my dead parts? Man, you don't know what I've been through. I stay strong though. I am a runner, pounding the pavement. So many times I couldn't run, you don't understand. Do you want a list of the injuries and injustices? I thought it started with my ankle. A guy dropped me, long story I don't want to tell you because the word cheerleader will come up. This whole other kind of person, right? Must have had everything. I never know what to answer to that because I don't remember. I don't remember what was taken. No one asked me or named or labeled anything. It wasn't like a library loan-out program. My stuff, whatever it was that was taken from my skin, my flesh, my person, my dignity, from my voice. Oh God, my voice. Where the hell did that go? Taking a walk, anyway. At some point, necessity, I guess, I got over my story that only old ladies do it. Old, slow, useless ladies with too much time on their hands. Taking a walk now, I take up space. A little, not too much, of course. But I, you see, have privilege. Oh, this I know. This I feel every time I stop and smell the roses in your yard. This little white girl, I get to keep my curiosity for flowers. Some people with melanin, black or brown in their skin, they were born even on the wrong side of curiosity. How in the damn hell is that possible? I think about it every single time I take a snapshot of the flowers for my memory of something out there that isn't dead. I know I won't be shot or jailed for my curiosity. What a delicious droplet of freedom that is. Taking a walk, though, why does it have such a charge anyway? Oh, right. That walk, middle school, broad daylight, in my group of friends, busy, bustling street, that damn guy, total stranger this time. They mix it up on you. Why'd he pick me to reach down and grope? That groan he let out ripped away my aliveness with its disgusting guttural sound. Damn, come to think of it, I ran that time. They say the brain actually has an easier time escalating what you were already doing. So sleeping, for instance, well, you failed to run there. Failure on top of failure on top of failure. So maybe I thought I'd better run as punishment. That's what the coaches tell you, and magazines, media show you mathematically, because spending your time, energy, brain power counting your calories is very important, especially as a teen girl. God forbid you actually need to fucking eat. Taking a walk, anyway, takes me away for a moment, a minute. Or does it? Did that car just pass by, slow down, brake, and turn around? How many times have I seen, and what the hell kind of car is that anyway? I don't know these things. I was looking at the trees, remember? Savoring my sweet droplets of freedom. What the hell did I wear these leggings for, though? And the shirt is probably too short. Damn it. Is that the car again? Inside I say, I'll kill you, motherfucker. How dare you? But in this body, all the signs point to run. Hide, get away, take up space on a more obscure street or maybe nowhere. Go home, get safe, and make sure nobody sees you. Yes, I savor my sweet droplets of freedom. Thank you for listening. I want to leave you with a quote by Jeanette LeBlanc. It reads, "You alone own your story. Do not let another tell it. And if you find yourself in the company of one determined to rewrite your words or own your narrative, fight like hell until you hold it again. There is little in life that is solely ours. Your story is one of those priceless few things. It is beyond precious. The people meant to be in your life will only strengthen your voice, not take it from you. Thank you for your presence, and I so look forward to our next step on this journey."
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you for your bravery. Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for being with us and leading us on this journey that we will take throughout this year. I want to take a moment before we get to our incentive drawing to invite each of you. There was a lot of dialogue in the chat box about people's experiences and about what we've been through. And what I can tell you is that you guys are in the right place. You are all important. You all have a space here at this table, and we can't wait to help you. And Lori can't wait to give you some tools to be present here and hopefully get through some of these hardships. So I want to go ahead and share my screen really quickly so that we can see what we have in store this year. So our next session will be September 30th. We will introduce the Rose Model and talk further about campus safety and suicide prevention. Starting next week, we will introduce some physical movement sessions led by Lori to give us some physical release and some ways to empower this overall well-being in a physical manner. So that session, that next, we'll be meeting for movement sessions every month. We will be meeting for live virtual sessions with Lori every other month throughout the fall and spring semester. So our monthly movement session will be September 13th virtually. And our next live session will be September 30th. So please keep an eye on your emails. You will see this flyer come out to you that will outline all of our dates and times for these sessions moving forward. And we look forward to seeing you come back and be with us through this journey. So with that, if Lori doesn't have anything else to add to our invitation for the year, then I will go ahead and do our incentive drawing today. Okay. All right, so let me get our names up there. Okay. Does everybody see a prize wheel? A little spinning wheel? Okay, great. All right, so I've taken the list of everybody who's participated today, and we're gonna spin the wheel for a $50 Visa gift card just for being here today. I also want to add that for those who participate in all 4 of our sessions throughout the year, there will be additional incentives for participating in the entire program that you can check out the email correspondence on how those incentive programs will work. So for today, our winner is looks like I'm going to mispronounce your name, but Elgin or Elgin is our winner for today. So thank you for being here. You will receive that an email with an e-gift card for Visa $50 gift card in your email that you provided when you registered for today's event. So also in the chat, looks like Lori has placed her email address. She welcomes hearing from you if you'd like to reach out in between the sessions. For anybody watching this on the recording, I will make sure and list all of our links that we mentioned today in the YouTube video description. And we look forward to seeing you guys next time. So yes, Lori.
I did think of one thing that I'm not sure we articulated. We will have an opportunity for anonymous Q&A all throughout the program. So I will be sharing a Google form with Carrie for that. And so you can collect questions and I will be answering those all throughout. So I just want to be clear that we have that opportunity.
Thank you very much. And then in addition to those dates that we have listed, you can always check out any upcoming Rose Model labeled events on our Ivy Life homepage. I am dropping our branch event page in the chat as well. That has a listing of all of our events that we'll be doing throughout the semester. In addition to Lori's events, we have other things happening as well. So we look forward to seeing you at future events, and we look forward to seeing Lori here next week on Monday. So thank you guys very much for being here, and we will see you next time.